Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode. And I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Dawn Weyer. Dawn, first of all, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Some of our listeners may remember you from as one of the Magnificent Seven,
Mhm.
but we're here today to focus on you and your work.
Okay.
So, could you start off by telling us a little bit about how you became so passionate about art?
I think I told you before, I can't ever remember a time when I didn't create. I can't not create. From age 5, I can remember my folks telling the story of my jumping up on a picnic table at a community picnic and singing "You Are My Sunshine" for the crowd. I just can't imagine not doing it. And I've always drawn. I've always found some sort of venue to create, whatever that is. Yeah, I don't know that I ever really thought about it. I just did it.
So, you did have one event in your life that seemed to crystallize a lot of your work going forward
Mhm,
when you got sick and your mom told you had to create.
mhm.
Could you tell us about that?
Oh, goodness, that was back in 2009, and we owned a little Christian bookstore, and I became very weak, very ill. We went to multiple doctors and couldn't figure out what was wrong. Eventually, over a 2-year period, figured out that it was mercury poisoning. I was slowly being poisoned through my dental work. And that was a catalyst for me. Once we figured it out and I went through that, I was so weak. It was the catalyst for me to be able to create because my mom, who is a painter, had just discovered pastels, and she said, "You need to do this. It's gonna get you through this time in your life," and it did, and I've never looked back. Pastels are my first love.
For those who may not know, what is the difference in pastels and painting?
Pastels are pure pigment. They are have very little binder to them. They are essentially like oils without the oil, is the best way I know how to describe it. It's the minerals that create the pigment without oil, but a very little bit of dry binder to hold them together so that you can create with them. They're not like the chalk that you see when they have the chalk festival here. That's create those sticks are created with limestone, and so that they can draw on the sidewalk. They're way more durable as a result. So, yeah, it's pure pigment without the oil. In fact, it has multiple ways to be used. I've used it in mixed media pieces using water with it to solidify it. So, it's a very interesting medium. One other thing about it is it's most artists that paint in oils or acrylics mix on their palette, but with pastel, you mix on the canvas. It's not coloring between the lines. You're actually mixing the pigments on the canvas.
Do you focus on many artists in the hill country focus on landscapes, some focus on animals, some focus on other things. Is there one particular area of interest for you?
I love landscapes. I didn't used to love landscapes. That was something that I wasn't sure about. I have always loved still life. When artists talk about painting from life, that's what that is. And a lot of teachers teach still life first before they take you out to do a landscape. But my mom, being a landscape artist, kept saying, "You need to do landscapes. You need to do it." And I did the typical, "My mom's doing it, so I don't want to do it," type thing, but grew to love them. And I grew to see color differently in the land. And so that kind of has been a slow growing love to paint landscapes. But that's actually ended up being my primary thing that I paint.
How did you get to the hill country?
Oh, via Waco, Texas. We closed our little bookstore in 2015, and at that time, we're older folks, and, our son graduated from high school. We were all it was just a life change, and we wanted to move south somewhere, and we ended up in Hewitt, just outside of Waco, and, my husband worked at Baylor University at the bookstore there and ran the stadium shops, and then things slowed down with COVID after that. So, yeah, that's how we ended up in Texas, and we were there for 4 years before coming to the Hill Country.
How did you get involved with the Magnificent Seven?
They invited me late. They had plans to do the show, and I don't know who the other artist was supposed to do it, but for some reason couldn't, and so they asked me at the last minute if I had enough pieces to be able to do it, and I was able to do it, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity because it really spurred things on for me. The current show that I'm in was in the works, and I had to back off from working on it to pull it together for the Magnificent Seven, but it was just really a blessing to be able to work with those women. Neat ladies.
So that really leads into the topic I wanted to explore next, is you have a current show
Yes.
at the Kerrville Arts Center
Mhm.
with Cindy Payton. Could you tell us about the current show?
The current show decided to call Hill Country Horizons, and the reason is both of us are brand new to the area. We came here about the same time, and we started talking about all the wonderful aspects of the hill country, the rolling hills and the beautiful Texas has beautiful sunsets all over and sunrises, but the cattle and the just it's just so beautiful here, the Guadalupe River, and we said, "Let's do a show that surrounds all those things, our impressions of the hill country." And so that's what the main theme of the show, Hill Country Horizons, is all about.
You had a reception this weekend.
We did.
Tell us about that event.
It was wonderful, very well attended. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. In fact, it was over all too soon. We got to visit with so many people. In fact, 2.5 years ago, when we moved here, I left one of my art students behind. I was teaching art there in Waco, and she showed up for the reception, and so it was really fun to visit with Carol and to encourage her to pursue what she's learned and grow in her artistic endeavors. So it was just really neat to visit with all kinds of people.
So you lived in at least a couple of places before you got to Kerrville, and you're relatively new here in Kerrville. How do you assess the local art scene?
I think it's magnificent. I don't know if how much people realize what a treasure they have here in the hill country. It is, I've never seen anything like it. When we moved from Waco, I remember the realtor saying that they're about 10 years behind. And I went, okay, this is one of the reasons we're moving to the hill country because there's just everything here. It's not just the fine art scene with the Western Art Museum and the HC, the Cultural Center. It's the Calu Theater and the theater out in Ingram at the Point, and it's just I was astounded at all the wonderful things here, and it's a treasure. I don't know how to say it any other way.
Lots of outlet for creativity.
Yes, definitely.
So what would you say to the young girl, to the teenager who's thinking about art, who's maybe not had formal training yet? How do you encourage them?
To just do it. That seems like it's awfully simple to say that, but it's never too late, no matter what age you are. It's if they have any kind of interest, they should just move forward and find their people. I think finding your people is very key to moving forward. You need your group of people to encourage you to be your second eye. Find teachers that will teach you, whether that's privately or through school, however that looks, do it.
You shared with me a little bit earlier, there's a Magnificent Seven 2024.
Yes, there is in September.
Could tell us a little bit about that?
We're all trying to figure out what it is we're going to paint. And some of us are a little further at it than others, but we are definitely looking forward. We had such a good time with that show, and we're really looking forward to ride again, as the girls keep saying.
So the Magnificent Seven are gonna ride again. Unfortunately, we're near the end of our time for this episode, but before we leave, if our listeners wanted any more information on yourself, you have a website, you have a Facebook page, do you have an Instagram account, do you have someplace they can go to see your work?
I just started Instagram this week at Cindy's prompting, but I do have a website. It's dawnweyerfineart.com. And so you can go there and find me. So
Don, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with us. I can't wait to see what you come up with for the Magnificent Seven in September.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
And one can I say one
Sure.
more thing? The Hill Country Horizon show runs through March 2nd. So, we're still there if you wanna come and see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.